Sports Network.
Yeah, I've been closer to Jesus before, so can you help me out? Oh, can you help me out? Am I on my own? Am I on my own? Or can you help me out? Am I on my own? Am I on my own? Or can you help me out? Can you help me out? I've been scared to look in my soul. I've been afraid I would follow the road. Yeah, afraid of the things I've been told.
Welcome into a Tuesday episode of Running Point on YSNLive.com, brought to you by our good friends over at Greenwood Chevrolet in Austin Town. Anthony Hartwig alongside Mr. Ty Bartell. Ty, how are you doing on this wonderful Tuesday?
Not too bad at all. As we look ahead to winter sports, look further ahead into playoffs, and get further into the high school sports seasons.
We got more basketball coaches on today. We got Mandy Rowe, the head coach over at the LeBray girls program, and we have Carrie Palermo, the head coach of the Mooney boys, both joining us live on the show. We have a couple off-air interviews that we're going to be doing tonight and be airing tomorrow, so don't worry about that. We're going to have a packed show tomorrow. We have a packed show today. I want to get us started by going back to what we tried to do yesterday. We still have 4 tickets to the YSU women's home opener to give away, free tickets to the home opener next Monday against Akron. And they are good tickets too in section 13, row I. So good tickets that you can have. 4 of them are for free. And today we're going with something that I think is pretty simple, because yesterday we did the capacity at Bigley Center, which I still think is pretty simple. You went on the website, you could have gotten it easily. Since YSU is opening their season today, actually right now, they're probably tipped off by now. I want the first person to comment or at our Twitter, which is at Running Point YSN. So comment on the show or send us a message on Twitter. The starting 5 today for the opening day starting 5 for the YSU women. You hit us with that, and you're the first one to do it. You'll get 4 free tickets to the home opener on Monday.
Yeah, so go ahead and find that. I'm sure that should be a lot easier to find even then, too. You could probably look that up right now and snap of your fingers and find that starting 5 going right now. So go ahead and find it, and you can get some home opener tickets for YSU women's basketball.
Absolutely. We love to give them away, and we are going to be reminding you all day about those giveaways. Ty, let's continue to talk about these football playoffs before we have Mandy Rowe come on at, I believe, 12:15 is when she is scheduled, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, 12:15. All right, so as we have a little bit of time, we get more and more information about these playoffs, and we kind of get more and more information about these teams that our teams will be playing. What matchups really intrigue you the most this weekend?
Like I said, I think it's all those matchups where it can result in those regional finals between teams that we have covered. So your West Branch matchups, your Ursuline matchups, your Springfield and LeBray matchups, the ones that really can result in those type of matches.
You have a caller on the line. We're going to pull them up and see who we got. Hello, you are live on Running Point.
Yeah, hello. Is this Anthony?
This is Anthony.
Yeah, I want to know who this is right now.
I think we're being franked.
Let me ask you a question. Why are you calling my girlfriend in the middle of the night?
You're out there, Anthony.
I'm patrolling. I'm patrolling in the middle of the night. I mean, just to steal your girl.
Yeah. Oh man, you better watch yourself out there, Anthony. It's getting real serious if it's starting to come onto the show now.
I better watch myself.
Better watch out who you're who you're calling at night, Anthony. No, I think those matchups for regions 4, 5, and 6 are going to be the most interesting for me, just because you can get an all YSN regional final matchup, and we're talking, of course, if South Range and Garfield can meet up, if Ursuline and West Branch can meet up, and of course down in D6 if Springfield and LeBray can match up. I'm also very interested in the Shard and Canfield matchup, just because it's defense going against defense, and I think that's going to be a fun match.
I hate to cut you off, but we just got Guy Costello, the head coach of the boys basketball program at
I
Latonia.
told you there's some surprises that are always in store on Running Point, and this is one of them that I had up my sleeve.
Coach, welcome in.
Hey guys, how you guys doing today? It's great to be here.
Coach, I'm glad we were able to sneak you on today.
Hey, absolutely. I know it was a little last minute. I just caught your email, so I figured, hey, why not? Let's go with it.
Why not? We love surprises here, and we'll always welcome it, and we're always ready to take it. Coach, I don't want to waste any time and just going right into a meet the team session. I know with football season, it had its ups and downs, and trying to just get games played as well for some points. How do you feel, first and foremost, do you think this basketball season is going to be kind of that stress relief for the team, as well as just highlight those big names you think you're going to have on the team this year?
Well, I tell you, last time I coached here was about, I think my last year was maybe 02, 01-ish. There's been a lot of decent coaches that have been here since that time, and I've seen a lot of good players come and go. And I'm happy to have the opportunity this year to be, hands-on with a few guys who I'm really looking forward to, after having these guys in the classroom, having the opportunity to go ahead and coach them on the court. We really, at this point, have one senior, Tim Finch. And I think the world of Tim Finch. I think he's one of the nicest guys I've met, and I think he's one of the most coachable people I've ever had. I definitely put him in my top 10 list of all time. He's got some natural ability, which is good because he just does some things that you can't teach. So we're going to lean on him heavily. With Tim, it's a question of availability. He's coming off the football season, like so many of our players, a little bit nicked up. We have a lot of guys out right now. We have Joe Guido, who is really our only returning starter. He's a junior. He's coming off a broken collarbone. He's not yet cleared. We have Tim Johnson, who got a little bit of time last year on the varsity level. I believe he was primarily a JV guy. He's coming off dinged up off of football with an ankle. He's been out. We get a guy who didn't play last year, nice size kid, about 6'2.5", 6'3". Nice size by our standards. Andrew Bulford. He's coming off a couple quarantines. So we haven't even had the opportunity, this being our second week in the gym, to actually see him out there doing anything yet at this time. So, I think we do have some guys, but we have yet to get everybody on the same page.
That's got to be tough when you're trying to come into a program for the first year and trying to kind of build your own philosophy and build your own culture. How are you kind of navigating that aspect of trying to instill what you want this program to look like into this team?
Well, I tell you what, you hit it on the head. It's certainly not an easy job, I think, for any coach. I'm not really exactly sure the last couple of years under Dan Dennis what they were running. But we're coming in and we're trying to teach them the game, teach them how to play the game, as opposed to just running plays. And that in and of itself is a challenge, teaching a little bit of motion basketball. Obviously, we're going to be limited in terms of how much I think they can digest and successfully execute. But it is a difficult transition, and it's compounded by the fact, again, as you said, that we've got some guys who we haven't even seen on the floor yet. One guy I forgot to mention, very athletic, Noah Riffey. He's a junior who got hurt in the last game of the season. He's been out with a knee. We got 4, 5, 6 guys. But, the reality of the situation is every program has its own unique challenges. I'm sure I'm not the only coach in the state or the county here going through this issue with players. And, what we're trying to get these guys to understand too is it's the next man up mentality. Everybody's going to get the same amount of reps in practice. There's no excuses. Next man up. Here's your opportunity. Who wants it? Who's ready? That's the way we have to approach it.
Coach, looking at this EOAC, I think there's no doubt it's going to be, stacked with a lot of great teams on the boys' side in the conference. Do you think having that tough competition is going to help these boys pick up the new system rather quickly? First part of the question. And number two, what do you think it's going to take from the team to grab a hold of that EOAC crown or at least be in contention for it towards the end of the season?
Well, yeah, there's no doubt. I've said it before when 20 years ago I had coached in this league. The league is full of good coaches. It was full of good coaches back then. It's full of good coaches today. And despite the fact that the schools are typically smaller, it was full of good coaches between then and now. There's no doubt about that. Rick Gates at Crestview, who's been around forever, does a great job. Very nice guy. Todd Johnson, you name it. Guys down at Lisbon, Wellsville always seems to reload. United is United. They look like a JUCO school. Haven't seen them in the summer coming out there with some of these guys that they have. Southern always seems to have athletes, and if I'm missing anybody, it's purely by mistake. But the reality is there's good coaches, good players, and hard-nosed kids in these schools. There's no doubt about that. For us to take a step forward, I think we have to learn how, to define what we view as successful for us, all that being said. And I'm not necessarily going to go ahead and measure our success this season in terms of wins and losses. We're going to have, some things set in our minds of what we're trying to achieve. Always making progress, continuing to understand the nuances of the game, to do the little things that matter. If I could just get these guys to reach their full potential, because, on any given night, we're going to be going up against teams that, quite frankly, I don't think anybody has Letonia as a contender for the league. And I would dare ever never say that, we are going to be a contender for the league. But, we will put a team out there that will understand the game, that will execute fundamentally, and will be competitive, and will play hard. And I think at the end of the day, if they're giving me their best effort, regardless of what our wins and losses might be, that's all I can ask for out of these guys. Nothing more than that.
Coach, one of the things that we've talked about in the last couple of years with Latonia basketball is how competitive they were, but they just need that last step to become a winning culture, kind of the winning mentality, knowing how to win games in the end. When you look at how to kind of instill the framework of that and what you want to do to kind of build that winning culture in this program, what are some of your game plans for that?
Yeah, I tell you, that's a great question. That in and of itself can be a struggle. There's no doubt that, the program has been up and down, up and down, up and down, up and down. And what I'm trying to build here is, I would say, a lot bit more, that didn't make sense, a lot more consistency with how we compete. We've had tough kids that have rotated through here. There's no doubt about that. But I think the biggest thing that, we've tried to make our kids understand, and I feel like, we took some steps forward this summer in doing so, was to get these guys to understand that you may play multiple sports, and that's great. We're not against that. We encourage you to do that. We firmly believe as a staff down here that, playing other sports definitely allows you to excel at any particular sport. There's a crossover of skill, as everybody knows. But the one thing that I believe we had issues in the past with, that we really worked hard and will continue to work hard to rectify, is the fact that, listen, you have to put your time in. We don't expect basketball to be your life. We don't expect any other sport that you might play to be your life. But if you want to compete on a varsity level, you do have to put some time in outside of the regular season. And for us, June was a big month, and these guys have to understand it's really difficult to get you where you may need to be just during the season. The skills required are really honed outside of the season.
And you know what, Coach, when building that culture, especially when you're just coming in, it's all about that first impression and that kind of long-lasting effect that's going to stick with the boys years after the basketball season. So in saying that, what is it that you hope to instill in these boys to what it means to be a Bear at the end of everything?
Hey, at the end of the day, okay, what it means to be a Bear is far beyond any wins and losses, any rebounds that you may have had a game, how many assists, how many points you may have put up on the board. Because the fact of the matter is, X number of years down the road, I don't know if anybody's really going to care other than your parents. The reality of the situation is, through the course of a season, as we all know, there are highs and there are lows. Sometimes things are working out really great. Sometimes your back is so far up against the wall that you are inside the wall. And what really counts and defines you as a person is how you handle those moments. Because how you deal with those moments within the course of the season is going to determine how you deal with those difficult times all throughout the course of your life. And that's the biggest thing that I can impress upon these guys.
Coach, thank you so much for taking the time to join us today on Running Point. We love hearing from you. We look forward to covering you guys all season, and we look forward to also talking to you again real soon.
Hey, I look forward to it. I appreciate you guys having me on, and you give me the jingle, we'll have the red carpet rolled out for you.
I like that. We'll give you a call.
Okay, guys, have a good day.
You as well, Coach.
That was Guy Costello, the head coach of the Latonia Bears boys basketball team, and we hop right from there to the LeBray girls program as their head coach, Mandy Rowe, joins us. Coach, thank you so much for taking the time to come on the show today.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Traveling down to the MVAC now, Coach, and looking at your team this year, and now that you get a little bit more of a sense now that we're deeper in November of what you have now as far as participation wise, what does it look like the big name players for your team this year are going to be, and what are some younger players that you think might have a big impact on the court this year?
Okay, so I returned 3 starters. I have senior Briley Daniels. She had about 12 points a game for us. Solid defender, steals. She had about 4 steals a game. She loves to pressure the ball and just run all over the court. So she's going to do great things for us this year. Then we have our leading scorer, Laura Mccoy, back. She averaged about 16 a game. She's our go-to whenever we need a basket. We try to run something through her. She's a solid defender. She's a great passer, great court IQ. So looking to her for some big things this year. And then rounding out our third starter is Janiah Dorsey. She's a junior. Did I say Laura McCoy is a junior? She's a junior this year. Wishing we had another year with her, but Janiah Dorsey's a junior. She started for us last year. She's about 5'9" forward. We're going to look to her to be aggressive offensively underneath and then banging down low on defense against some of the post players. We lost a lot of size. This is the first year I've coached without a rep art. So, 5'10", 5'11" for the last 4 years. I think our tallest girl this year is about 5'9". So we're going to change our style up a little bit and look to run more with some athleticism. We have a newcomer, Kirsten Brewer. She's a senior. She just moved into our district. So looking to her to contribute big for us. She's a nice shooter, has good floor IQ, just seems like a great defender. And we've seen some good things from her already. And then we have some newcomers, younger girls. Mia Hemingway, she's a sophomore. She's got some size and strength, so she'll play down low for us. And then sophomore Mary Beth Craig, she had some good minutes in JV last year, so we're hoping she can contribute. And then Marissa Levinsky, she's an incoming freshman who's got great speed and athleticism.
Coach, one of the things that we always kind of ask the coaches that come on, what are some of the things that you kind of want these girls to take away from being under you when they do graduate from your program and they do leave the LeBray school system? What kind of things do you want them to look back on and say that they learned from being coached by Coach Rowe?
We tell them all the time it's not necessarily about the wins and losses, but just taking pride in what they do, coming in, working hard, and using those attributes for future. We tell them, that you need to be disciplined in what you do, and we want them to show commitment in all that they do. And so this is just a stepping stone, and we just want them to create a lot of memories and to think back and have some great memories as they go on into their life.
And looking at the team last year, too, I think for as young as you were and what you're returning from last year, I think you guys had those young players that stepped up and I think that are ready to take a hold this year. 9-8 still was a good record, I think, for a very competitive MVAC last year. Talking about how the MVAC is going to look this year, and we know a lot of big names from a lot of schools are now moved out. How do you think you guys are going to fare in that MVAC this year, and what are you guys going to need to do as a team to kind of be towards the tops of the MVAC discussions at the end of the season?
Yeah, our goal is always to be at the top of the league. And it's just a gauntlet day in and day out. These teams, they're all loaded with players. And then we've got veteran coaches that do a great job with their teams. I know every team, Crestview, Champion, Liberty, Garfield, us, we've all lost some big players, but I know that there's girls waiting just to step into those spots. So, nothing to take away from them because I know that they'll have their teams ready to go. Newton Falls, I know that they'll be competitive too. Liberty, Camel, they're rebuilding. I know they've got their old coach back in, and I know he's going to do some good things with them. So it's just getting our girls ready to compete day in and day out.
So that's how the MVAC schedule is going to look. What about some non-conference games that you have on your slate this year that you think will really prepare you for the end of the season and tournament time?
We have a nice out-of-league schedule, a lot of Division III schools that we might run into in the tournament. We see Cardinal, Middlefield. We played them. They were on our schedule last year. We lost pretty much all of our non-league games last year, which was a bummer. So we didn't see Bristol. We see them again this year. They're always a tough game. Cardinal, Middlefield. We have Wyndham, Badger, Springfield will be a tough one. And Mineral Ridge. I know they're under a new coach. So it'll be nice to see what she does with them. And then we open up with Niles and Girard. Those are always tough games.
Obviously, a good schedule, though, to get the girls ready for the season. And looking at the season, too, I think it's fair to say that the LeBray community supports its athletics very well, too. What is going to be sort of the sales pitch, though, for anybody that's on the fence about coming out to see this girls' team, as we expect this MVAC to be just, like you said, a gauntlet to go through?
Yeah, we're excited. Last year, we were able to have some fans, but this year we're kind of back to normal, so hoping to get some student section there and a lot of the kids. We know we travel well with our family and siblings, and but we're hoping to get a good following. We've had football's having a great season, and then the volleyball games, we filled pretty much one side of the stand, so we're hoping to continue that.
You guys get some of the best basketball crowds that we've seen in the YSN family. LeBray basketball has this kind of mystique to it that people want to come and watch you guys. Talk about this community and what it's like being a part of it, and what makes LeBray so special.
So I just think, the following is great. The boys basketball program there is so successful. They run with pure athleticism too, and that's how we try to get our girls to play quick and athletic, and just bring a lot of excitement to the game. So we're hoping we can continue that this year.
Coach, we know every great coach loves to have a great staff that's around them that supports supports them and helps build that team up as well. So I want to give you the opportunity to shout out some of your assistants and a lot of those other big staff members that are going to be helping you out along the way this season.
Oh, I'm happy to brag on my assistant coaches today. So my varsity assistant and JV coaches, Rick Aldridge, just has a vast knowledge of the game, lots of experience coaching and playing, great X's and O's guy. So we make a great team, and I'm happy to have him on staff with me. And then our junior high, we have Lisa Aldridge, his wife, is coaching our 8th grade. She's been there a couple years. She has some varsity experience as well. And then my husband, Todd Rowe, is I stole him from the boys' side. He's coming over to the girls this year to do the 7th grade. So looking forward to having those girls in a couple years from the junior high. Actually, my daughter's in 7th grade. So we started back when her group and then the 8th grade group, they were in kindergarten, 1st grade, and we took some of those girls to the YMCA in Youngstown. So we've had them for quite a few years and looking to see great things out of them.
Coach, before we let you go, we know in basketball, just like every other sport, communication and chemistry is so important on the floor. What kind of things have you been doing in the summer and now in these couple weeks getting ready for the season to try to build team chemistry and the team relationship and bond?
So we had a nice summer. We were able to do our summer league again. We went to a shootout just to get the team bonding together. We've done some things outside of the gym. The girls were in lifting weights. And I attribute all of that to my upperclassmen. They're doing a great job of showing leadership and getting the younger girls involved and seeing what it's like to put the work in. In the last couple of years, we have girls coming in at 6 a.m. to shoot in the mornings. And so that's just something that those younger girls can pick up on and continue that tradition.
Coach, my final question for you, and I think there's a lot of things to be excited about with the combination of fans being back in stands, having a young team with some returning starters, and being a wide open conference. But asking you personally, what are you most excited for about this upcoming season?
I love basketball season, so I'm ready to go. We have a few scrimmages under our belts, and just seeing the improvement each day in and out of practice and watching the girls come in and work hard. We're excited. We're excited to get to the games and the atmosphere and just how fun it's going to be. And we know it's going to be a roller coaster, but it's that way every year. So we're ready for it.
Roller coasters are fun to ride, right?
It depends where you're at on that roller coaster.
That's true, Coach. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us today. We look forward to following you on that ride all season and supporting and covering you guys. And we look forward to talking to you again real soon.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
That was Mandy Rowe, the head coach of the La Brea girls basketball team, getting some love in the comment section. Brought to you by Boardman Mitsubishi, by the way.
As you saw too, I mean, got some love on her way out. It sounded like she had exit music going on there too.
I think the bell was ringing.
It sounded like a plane getting ready for like takeoff right now. Maybe that's what the Vikings are ready to do this year: take off in that MVAC, and they might grab a hold of it. And that's going to be the most exciting part. Like I said, this MVAC, a lot of both tiers seem wide open right now, so it's going to be fun.
The MVAC Scarlet tier we've talked about throughout the walls. I mean, I think everyone knows the picture of the MVAC Scarlet tier. Maddie Howard and Molly Howard are gone out of McDonald. Vuletich and Miller are gone out of Western Reserve, and it's just going to make things chaotic and wild card in the MVAC Scarlet tier. In the gray tier, like a lot of really good players left the gray tier too. Champions Emma Gamont, who was one of the leading scorers in the conference. She graduated. Chris, you lost Krista Perry. One of the best players in the conference, graduated. So you look at some of these teams that are returning a lot, like La Brea, returning their leading scorer, Garfield returning a lot, Liberty returning almost everybody. It might be time for one of those teams to hold up the mantle and win this MVAC. Newton Falls, also, don't forget about them. They're always a very competitive girls basketball team that for some reason or another goes under the radar every single year. So maybe this is their time to kind of thrust themselves into the limelight and win the MVAC.
The Garfield Lady G-men are now in the MVAC grade.
Wreck the party. I'm telling you that much. They're coming to wreck the party.
I know they are. And we talk with Coach Gilbert, and I tell you, there's tradition that exists over there too. And yeah, it's coming into a new conference. Nobody really you don't really know what to expect from a few of the teams. Yeah, they've played a few of them. There's a few that maybe not as much, you're not as familiar with, but not a whole lot of teams have a lot of experience with them coming in either too. And now you experience that.
It's crazy because they're brand new, but like if I had to pick a favorite right now, I'd probably pick Garfield in that conference.
They're probably up there. I mean, there's so many good teams.
And look, with all that LeBray is returning, they're going to be up there too.
There's a lot that are going to be up there too, and I mean, you could never shy away from surprises during basketball season because there's a lot of them to be had.
I'm very excited for Liberty this year because Liberty is just a fun team to watch. They're very athletic. They run like crazy. The problem they had last year was they were so young that when things kind of when the valleys hit in a basketball game, they turned into big dips. They couldn't kind of get out of the valleys real quick. It's basketball. Teams are going to go on runs, you know?
Yeah.
You're not going to stop a team from going on a 6-0 run or maybe a 7 or 8-0 run. LeBray, unfortunately, because they were so young last year and inexperienced, they let those 6-0 runs, 7-0 runs turn into 14, 15-point runs, and all this. They couldn't get away from compounding mistakes. And when we get to Coach Watson, we'll talk about that and how this team has matured. But as far as athleticism, talent, and skill go, Liberty is right there.
And no doubt. And when we talk about other coaches too, I mean, even on the boys' side too, I think it's the same case of Liberty being right there. And I mean, we're talking both boys and girls. And what I'm saying about it being open, because we see a lot of these teams too in the MVAC, they're competitive basketball teams. They either have one side or both sides are competitive. And that's pretty impressive too when you have both sides being competitive at the same time.
It's crazy because you look at last year, Newton Falls won the MVAC. They've lost a lot. And they're coming back with, maybe two starters from last year's team. All these teams on both girls and boys basketball that won conferences just were in this space all together where they all had tremendous senior leadership last year. So there's a lot of conferences on both sides that just look like they're wide open this season.
Yeah, honestly. And I mean, it's going to be fun on basketball side too. And I mean, we know the boys side, there's going to be a lot of fun teams to watch. I think Lowville's one you're going to have to watch over in that Scarlet tier. I mean, Campbell's going to be one in the boys' side you're going to have to watch in the gray tier. There's a lot of teams that I hope I can make out to a couple of times, as well as I know we're going to have my heart be with the Falcons, and I'm happy to be with the Falcons all season. But there are going to be other games that I'll be out there for. Don't you worry. I'm still going to be making my way around the Valley as much as I can to still see some quality basketball teams.
We're going to take a quick break. On the other end, we'll continue this Tuesday episode of Running Point. We still have Carrie Palermo coming up at 1:40, the head coach of the Mooney boys basketball team. So don't miss any minute of it. That's coming up next on Running Point, brought to you by Greenwood Chevrolet in Austintown.
New things happen all day. Some are good, some not so good. In today's complicated world, while you're busy working, playing, and living life, we're busy helping you make sense of the day's news. And there's only one place where it comes together with clarity, context, and accountability. It's 21 News at 6 with me, Madison Tromler, and Derek Steyer.
21 News at 6. It's what the day's news really means to you.
Welcome home to a home made homier with Baird Brothers Fine Hardwoods. Inspiration starts at BairdBrothers.com and is turned into reality when high-quality hardwoods are delivered right to your home. Baird Brothers has the latest design trends, shiplap and skinny lap interior siding, antique oak rustic flooring. And, well, you'll find them all at BairdBrothers.com. Ordered easily, delivered conveniently, enjoyed comfortably. BairdBrothers.com.
At Greenwood Chevrolet, shop with confidence knowing we're ready to go the extra mile for you. With the largest selection of used vehicles in the Valley, backed by the Greenwood Advantage Warranty. Every one of our vehicles has undergone our own 126-point inspection, so it passes the most important inspection, yours. No other dealership has the extra inventory, gives you extra for your trade, and goes the extra mile for you. Only at Greenwood Chevrolet.
WRS Wealth Advisors, the area's premier wealth and retirement specialists. Located on South Avenue in Boardman.
Quality, customer service, and integrity. Those are the 4 words that have driven our success since 1957 at Joe Dickey Electric.
Joe Dickey Electric is one Mahoning Valley landmark business that stays current with the requirements of our customers. Family owned and managed, we are an electrical contractor and energy solutions provider. Every member of our team adds to his or her skill set through ongoing training. Residential, commercial, industrial, automotive, and more. We keep ahead of the needs of our customers with a fleet of more than 50 vehicles and 24/7 emergency service, so you're never left in the dark.
When looking for home design inspiration, don't just be inspired, be Baird inspired. Whether new or remodeling, Baird Brothers has the latest trends like shiplap to refresh your home. Go from inspiration to installation with our wide selection of in-stock American hardwoods. From the rustic charm of antique oak to the warmth of traditional cherry, Baird Brothers has what you need to make your home inspiring. Baird Brothers, our family's heritage, your family's home.
For a great vehicle and a great experience, come to Boardman Mitsubishi today. As always, our full lineup of Mitsubishi models comes with a standard 10-year, 100,000-mile powertrain warranty. Boardman Mitsubishi, your hometown Mitsubishi dealer since 1999.
Coca's Pizza, always supporting our community and our local athletes. Stop in on game day or score big and have it delivered right to your door. Check out our daily specials at cocaspizza.com. That's Coca's Pizza, we serve it hot.
At Hubbard Chevrolet, Hubbard can help you get the financing you need, regardless of your situation. I'm Tony Page, and I've helped thousands of customers in Northeast Ohio and Western Pennsylvania buy a vehicle. Visit HubbardChevy.com to get pre-approved. Remember, folks, Hubbard can help.
You're not waiting to see what the world has in store for you. It's more about what you have in store for the world. All you need is the opportunity. All you need are the resources of a large university and the advantages of a personalized academic setting where you can experience new worlds in the arts and sciences, business, and education and make them your own. We are where you shape your future. We are Youngstown State University and proud.
Welcome back to Running Point on YSNLive.com, brought to you by Greenwood Chevrolet in Austintown. Anthony Hartwig alongside Ty Bartell as we continue on to this wonderful Tuesday afternoon. Ty, the YSU women's basketball team is up 17-13 after one quarter of play, and we have 4 free tickets to their home opener. First person that comments their starting 5 from today's season opener in Eastern Michigan can have those tickets for themselves for next Monday's home opener against Akron at 7 o'clock.
Yep, and watch out because Anthony might be grabbing them from you first. He's ready to comment at will to grab those tickets as well.
Well, I'm just going to go comment myself.
Yeah, Anthony might take them from you, so you better go grab them before he does.
Oh, man. Anthony, comment. I'm the winner.
Anthony Scully is what it's going to say. Anthony _YSN _Scully.
Yes, while I'm hosting this show, I have gone on and made my own YouTube account.
Just so you could take those
Just
tickets.
so I can comment and take the tickets. Can you imagine? Anthony, what are you doing?
You went through that much trouble to get the tickets instead of just getting some tickets. Oh man. But no, get out there and comment too. You can literally find the starting 5 right now too. Like it's on there.
It's super easy. By the way, if anyone's wondering that watched yesterday, the capacity of Beakley Center is 6,300. That was the answer for yesterday's trivia question that would have won someone 4 tickets, but no one took up the mantle. So
Quinn tried to, but Quinn
got it right, but I'm not going to just Quinn's disqualified. It's like one of those radio contests where, like, at the end of what they tell you what the prizes are, that in real fast talk, they're like, members and employees of ysnlive.com are not eligible for receiving prizes or gifts in this contest. So yeah, unfortunately, Quinn, you're an employee. You are not eligible for.
You can't do it, Quinn. Can't do that. That's not allowed.
You could go on and make a YSN Quinn.
A burner.
YSN Quinn Scully.
YSN Quinn. And then just Scully at the end for no reason. It's YSN Quinn Scully.
I miss YSN Scully.
I don't know why. I don't know who that was. I don't know why they showed up that day.
It's one day.
What, a gaming clan?
One day, and he brought some buddies.
It was like YSN Scully, YSN J.
The greatest thing is they were just trashing each other on the comments section.
Yeah, I know. That was something. Never know what to expect on a day of Running Point here.
Welcome to live streaming. Back before we had Guy Costello on, we started a little bit talking about the playoff matchups, and the more we learn about these teams that our teams are playing, what kind of games intrigue you the most? I gotta say, the one I'm most excited about is Garfield-Kirtland.
That one, I mean, streak is on the line. That one's going to be interesting for sure.
Because you have a team in Kirtland that is, like you said, the streak. They have all the pressure of that streak on their shoulders. And this is a Garfield team that runs a very unique offense that you don't see every day. It's similar to Kirtland's run style, but of course Kirtland has the pass that they can hit you with. They proved that last playoff run. They proved it plenty of times this regular season that when they have to or when they want to, they can hit you with a play action pass up the top. And they run a more I don't know what you'd more traditional triple option, I guess you would say. With Garfield runs just a straight up. I don't even know what you call Garfield's offense because it's kind of an option, but it's also they don't really have a quote unquote quarterback. They kind of just direct snap to their running back, and sometimes Swagonski will have a direct snap and he'll end up throwing it. But I don't even know what you would call their offense. If
they can mix in,
it's not a traditional wing team.
And I'm kind of curious because you never want to go too far off your game plan, but I'm kind of curious that if Garfield elects to start going with more of a passing game, and not that you're going for big passes, but just check down passes, maybe little short stick routes of just trying to get them to respect the pass a little bit too. You don't want to do anything that's too crazy, obviously, and opening it up. But I mean, just in the way that some teams mix in some runs that are pass heavy teams, just so you respect the run. I wonder if Garfield does that just to keep a little bit of pressure off the line, so that way they could effectively run that triple option a little bit more.
Well, Brody Swagonski did have two touchdowns. I said that yesterday. 2 touchdowns through the air in their win over Bel Air. And one of them was a pretty big one that put them ahead 14-7 before halftime.
Yeah, and I mean, it's not that we're saying that I don't think that they can't pass. I'm just curious if they're going to utilize it more, too. I guess it all depends, though, on what kind of success you're finding and how frequently that triple option is working against Kirtland's defense, because if it's not opening anything up, I think you got to try to do something. You're going to have to try to open it up somehow, because that's how Garfield's going to be able to win that game.
I tell you, those receivers in Garfield, God love them, because they block 95% of the time, and they're blocking hard. And then like that 5%, they get 1 or 2 opportunities where they get to make a play. You better make them, because that's all you get.
And they've done a great job of making them, though, all season, too.
But that just goes into, I think, one of the things that makes Garfield such a special program, the unselfishness of these players. I mean, you go into almost any other football program as a receiver, And you're looking as a receiver, you're seeing all these high flashing offenses on NFL Sundays, and you're seeing more and more of them on college football Saturdays, and you're thinking, I want to make those big plays, I want to make those catches, and then you go into your high school football practice, and it's like you're going to block for about 90 minutes today, and maybe you can catch a couple of passes if you're lucky. But it doesn't matter because it means team success. There are no egos in the Garfield program, especially in the receiver room, which tend to build the biggest egos with the receivers, in football. So no egos in that receivers room, and you can tell by the style they play.
Yeah, no doubt. And you know what? Their style of play is what's favorable come the later months of when it gets colder too, and when weather is not the best.
How many quarterbacks are asked to be a lead blocker half the time? I mean, Swagonski will lead block when they direct snap to Dema. So it's like, hey, you're going to be a lead blocker a lot.
And I mean, that's
quarterback. No, you're going to be a lead blocker.
They play a different style of offense, man, but it's an offense that no one's had an answer for all season, and they're undefeated for good reason.
Here's the thing they have to avoid, because the first two playoff games they've had, they've been slow starts. They were down 13-7 against Shadyside, and then they were up 14-7 at halftime against Bel Air. They can't afford slow starts against a Kirtland team, or else they're going to find themselves down by more than 13-7. They need to be able to start fast and make sure they execute in the first half. They don't want to see themselves in a 14-point deficit at the break.
No doubt, and that's going to be the biggest thing is can you stop Kirtland from the jump, or at the very least, if Kirtland has a good first half, are you able to shut him down? Second half is going to be the question. I don't know if necessarily they can, but hey, everyone's been talking about South Range and Kirtland the whole year, and I think no one's been talking about Garfield, and they really should. This is an undefeated team that brings a lot of power.
You bring up a good point. As far as second half defense goes, they've given up 7 total points in the second half in the playoffs.
And that's huge.
They've given up 27 total points in the playoffs, and only 7 of them have come in the second half.
And that shows the adjustments that the team makes, and that's going to be huge for the team going forward, and especially in Kirtland. And that's what I'm saying is that we want to keep – and I understand they're the undefeated streak, and, I understand 4 straight games that they've won so far, longest active in the country. I understand it, but if there's anyone to take good advice from, look at Alicia Auer and the way that she got her team ready. Crestview going up against Independent. Yes, this is a historical team, and yes, this is a Kirtland team that they should be respected. But if you put a mystique around them as they're this fantasy team and they're this empire team, as we like to do in the media, as I myself just did yesterday. But if you as a team are looking at them like that, they're already getting a mental advantage over you. And I think the big thing with Garfield is they feel like they're being disrespected week in and week out anyway, and the fact that everyone's talking about other teams in D5 and not Garfield right now. This is your chance right now to open up everybody's eyes, and I guarantee you win this one. Everybody's talking about Garrettsville Garfield.
That's the thing. You can't believe for a second that Garfield hasn't been hearing all the talk about we're going to see South Range Kirtland again, and they've been kind of pushed off to the wayside. They're like, hey, Kirtland has to beat us too. Like, we want our chance at South Range.
They're undefeated for a good reason, man, and you have to put respect on Garfield's name.
And back to the other point about their second half performances, not only have they only given up 7 second half points, they've scored 51 second half points in the playoffs as well. They scored 21 in the first round against Shadyside to win 28-13, and then they scored 30 second half points last week. So there is not just a strong second half defensive team, but their offense has started to click in the second half as well. That's just one thing that bothers me is this. I feel like you have to play a complete game to beat Kirtland. You have to play from the first quarter to the fourth quarter. You can't wait until halftime to click it on.
Well, they got the support of Mike right now, and that's all they need. As since Mike's been wearing that shirt back there, Garfield's been rolling pretty well. So
you can't even see it right now.
Yeah.
Look.
There's Mike.
There's
Be like Mike. Be like Mike, go G-Men, and go ahead and take down the longest active streak. And you know what?
You know
if
what?
there's a team that can do it, I really do think they can.
By the way, this just makes it insane that Curlin is this team that has been highly respected for years, and they're on this 54-game winning streak, and we all think the world of them. But remember De La Salle in California that went on a 151-game winning streak before they were finally 100, and like Curlin's great, and they're only at 54. Ah!
Yeah. And you know what? Is it possible that Kirtland can do that? Absolutely. History can go both ways. It could definitely go both ways, and Kirtland can definitely win another however many games. But you know what? Every streak is meant to come to an end. And unless you could retire the thing, you could retire the program and say you've been undefeated, you retired on an undefeated streak, that's fine. That's the only way you're out of it. But as long as you're competing each and every year, streaks are made to be ended, and they're made to be ended by that one team that we call the Cinderella story. And you know what? I think there's a team in Garrettsville that would love to.
That would take, and I just did the math, for them to get to, if they're at 54 right now, that's what we think they're at. I think it's 54.
I think it's 54. It's
literally on the dot. It would take 6 more undefeated seasons all the way to the state championship in a row to get to 150. 6 more.
I was gonna say it's probably close to almost a decade, at least a half a decade.
Now they're playing 16 games to get to a state championship because now there's 6 playoff games with the added round. And 16 times 6 is 96, and 96 plus 54 is 150. And the record for De La Salle was 151 before they lost. So to get there, they have to go six more consecutive seasons as state champions, undefeated state champions, and then win one more game in the start of the next year just to tie that record.
Open enrollment makes that a lot easier to keep.
See, Kirtland doesn't use that. Like their competitive balance number is almost 0.
Oh, really? I didn't know that Kirtland didn't use an open enrollment. That makes it even more interesting too. That they, at least you can get around that though by bringing people to the school.
Competitive enrollment does not include if you're getting them open enrolled in the middle school. So like that competitive balance.
That's what I was saying. There's ways around that though, technically, to get people into the school, because I was like,
kids are coming to play for this football program before they get into high school.
Well, yeah, that's what I'm saying. Unless they're just putting something in the water over there in Kirtland that makes everybody an all-star football player. Like there's definitely people are coming to Kirtland to play football. That's simple fact.
And they get a lot of not players, I should say. They get a lot of kids from the middle school programs from that Minter school. That big Minter school, Minter, up in Lake County.
Yeah, no doubt. And it's always tough to, but that's what we talk about building that culture that people want to play for.
When you build greatness, people want to play for you. That's
no doubt. And it's exactly what South Range is doing now too, right. Though. That's exactly what we're seeing the Raiders are doing. I'll contend that we're starting to see Garfield start to put in the bricks for that foundation. As we saw last year, they were having a hot streak, and you hope that this is more of a foundation for a culture and not just a great year, because I really think the offensive mentality that Garfield runs up there is truly unique, and I think that triple option is always going to give teams fits because it's different. It's a different style of offense to try to cover up. So I really think they have the potential to have a great culture and at least have winning seasons year in and year out.
Well, yeah, they've been doing that. They're consistently winning.
But I'm saying take that next step.
The next step is like consistently getting to the state tournament.
Well, that are regionals, I would say, and I think they have a great chance of doing that. If you're making it at least to the regional finals and the top 2 teams, they've made it pretty far this year, and I think they have that chance to continue going with just the athletes that they have over there in Garrettsville.
If they do it this year and South Range takes care of business against
Garaway, I think.
Garaway,
yeah.
Then that would be an epic regional final between 2 teams.
All undefeated teams going up against each other too. I'm pretty sure. Is it Garraway undefeated as well?
Yes, they are. Yes.
So I mean, you got 4 teams in D4. Kirtland's 9-0. The other 3 are 10-0. Something's got to give. 2 teams are getting their first loss this week.
I know, and that's what was crazy about Division 5 is like you're sitting undefeated, and you're a 4 seed.
Yep.
And
no
then
doubt.
there was like a 1-loss team that was a 5 seed.
Well, Kirtland's the only 9-0 team, and they're number 1, and there's 3 10-0 teams below them. 3 teams that are 10-0 that are sitting below 9-0 Kirtland.
Kirtland plays Division 1, Division 2 teams.
Well, yeah, Kirtland. I mean, it's strength of schedule, no doubt. But I'm just saying, it's funny that there's 3 10-0 teams that aren't the number 1 seed.
It goes back to the discussion we've had this season. They're playing Division 2 teams, which automatically gives them those Division 2 points. But then you really have to dive into how good those Division 2 teams really are.
Yeah, and I mean,
because not just because you're Division 2 doesn't mean you're a quality football team. Now I don't know who they played, so I'm not saying, oh man, Kirtland's schedule was garbage. They just played bigger schools. I just don't know how good. I know they got points because it was higher division, and it doesn't really dive deeper than that. So it would be interesting to see how really, really good these teams they beat were.
I mean, you could see that too. I mean, West Geauga was a D3 7-4 team. Lutheran West 8-2 D4 team. Harvey was a 5-5 D3 team. Perry was an impressive one, as this one was the Perry Pirates. That were 10-2. That was an impressive win for them on the season too. So I mean, there's impressive wins from them, as no doubt. And I mean, they needed those ones too, because those other divisor points too, and how well the other teams did, the ones that you played, also play a factor. So that's why they are ranked as high as they are. But I mean, I don't think these wins are. I mean, the Perry win is probably the most impressive one. I would say one of that one, and maybe the Lutheran West one, I would say, are impressive. But South Range beat an undefeated Hubbard team that was 10-2. They beat an 11-1 Springfield team. So I mean, that's impressive in of itself. And I mean, if you look at Garfield, I mean, yeah, it's down a division, but they beat number 1 seeded LeBray in this season too. That's an impressive win, no doubt. And that was an 11-1 team. You're also talking about beating Warren JFK this season. I know that's down a division, but still, nonetheless, a great team, and that they were able to beat.
Oh, man. This is funny. Kirtland, they just released their all district teams, and they almost have a whole football team on the first team. eight Hornets that were on the first team all district.
I'm not surprised.
Like it's this ridiculous domination. I want to dive into an interesting breakdown that Dana Balic tweeted. I think the Sunday after playoffs, of just how many of each seed is left in the state of Ohio now that we're in the Final Four of each region, and what that's Sweet 16 of each division.
Yeah.
So, and then 7 divisions, 16 times 7 is what 112. So 112 teams left right now in the state of Ohio. Of that, 26 1 seeds are left out of 28. 23 2 seeds, 17 3 seeds, 24 seeds, 8 5 seeds, 9 6 seeds, 5 7 seeds. And this is where it gets interesting, because knock was lower seeded teams can't beat these 1 seeds, or higher seeds, I should say. There's 1 8 seed, 1 9 seed, 1 11 seed, and 1 14 seed all left in the state of Ohio. So there are these middle seeds that are making noise in the state.
And I mean, you hate it because you know the reasons behind the open playoffs line the pockets of OHSAA and more. But that's all they really needed to make the argument work, is one team making it further.
All that aside, and we all believe that's absolutely true, can you say that in the 8-team playoff, these teams that may have been better teams in the 8 seed that beat them are better seeds? And in the 8 seeds case, I'm guessing they beat a 1 seed to get to the regional. So that 1 8 seed in the state, I know it's just 1 8 seed out of what, 7 times 4, 28 out of 28 1 8 seeds. but that 1-8 seed that was better than the 1 seed, or that 1-14 seed that's now in the regional semifinals, wouldn't have gotten the playoffs, even though they've kind of went and proven, hey, we're a better team than those 8 teams that would have gotten in last year's
We
playoffs.
saw a 16 seed upset a 1 seed in just this playoffs too. So I mean, it is.
You say it's only one; it's a fluke. Any given day, anybody can beat anybody, so it doesn't
But
matter.
that's the intrigue of it.
But at the same time, sometimes really good teams that play really good schedules would get an 11 seed in the region, and they're a better football team than some of the higher seeds. Plain out.
And you could see teams that get healthy too right at the end of the season make those type of runs, and if they do, that's going to be a huge factor too. And you know what?
There are 9 6 seeds, which means that was the 6 versus 3 matchup in the last round. So 9 6 seeds beat a 3 seed. So I know they would have gotten in the playoffs anyway, but you look at it, and below 8, there are 3 teams in the state below an 8 seed that are allowed.
And I mean, by saying that, it's at least it gives the kids something to fight for, and that's the only reason why I'm all right with it. And you know what? It's a good thing, because as long as one team can make it far enough to where it says this works and it's worth it, and the whole run and putting that opening the playoffs more is worth it. I mean, that's what makes it okay for me, is that it gives schools and communities and these kids an opportunity that they otherwise might not have had. I just hate the fact that I know the reasoning behind it for the OHSAA does not feel genuine, and that was the reason.
Did you say it's the reason, or just a reason and a big reason? Do you think there's a possibility that they're like, okay, you got to do this, but it's also
it's probably a reason, but it's a reason you're pushing to the forefront and saying, let me put this in the spotlight as the reason.
They're not pushing it to the forefront.
That is the number one reason, though. That is not the one.
They're not being transparent about it. That's what bothers me.
And I mean,
of course, they're not going to come out and say, well, we need the money, but don't pretend that it wasn't. We all see what's
why you saw a lot of schools refusing to give you host sites too.
That's true. I was texting back and forth a couple of people over the weekend when Sunday came around, and we learned that there were schools that were flat out saying no, and it was like,
it costs money for the schools to stay open.
I know a lot of schools lose money for hosting a playoff game because they're not really given a lot by the OHSA to host that playoff game. But do you think it's also kind of a middle finger a little bit to the OHSA, saying, you know what, you haven't cared about us, so we're not going to help you out in this situation?
A lot of schools are still frustrated after last year when we saw 15% capacity the whole time, and then OHSA jacks up the prices in the playoffs and then tries to open up the capacity in the playoffs, as we knew they would too. So I think that by them doing that, I feel like it showed a lot of the schools right then and there, okay, we know where your head lies, at least right now, and we know where your allegiance lies with everything. And I mean, a lot of schools, I think, before that were already kind of on the fence about them, but I think that really, and with good reason, pissed a lot of schools off.
A lot of fans are kind of eyeing over into Pennsylvania and looking at their format, where they have regional governing bodies that only go to the state governing body for very serious, rulings about rules and stuff like that. But for everything else, it's just we're the WPIAA and whatever, we're doing that or whatever it may be. And I think a lot of fans are starting to do that meme where you're with your girl, but you're looking back at I think a lot of people are trying to kind of look over to Pennsylvania and saying, will that work? Do we have to stop dealing with this stuff from the OHSAA? And I don't know if it would. It's just something that I know I've seen a lot of people kind of side-eyeing in Pennsylvania over there and what their format is.
Yeah, and it might be something that is discussed down the road too.
Something that I brought up is I don't even know how it worked, but when they started that, did the Pennsylvania state body approve that? Because then over here, obviously the OHSAA would have to approve breaking into regions, and then who knows if they would ever do that. Like, I don't think a region can just say, "Hey, we're done. We're gonna make our own," but we'll still come to you. We'll still be a part of you, but we're gonna handle all of our own business, and you stay out of it until we need you. I don't know if that would fly well with the OHSAA.
Probably not. Probably not. And I mean, it is definitely a
And then if you cut them out, you have to deal with everything that OHSAA deals with. I don't know if any region is ready for all that smoke.
Yeah. And I mean, there is definitely things I'm sure that are behind closed doors that we don't know about. But I mean, it's no doubt just frustrating that, I mean, it's so blatant and what you're doing it for. And you're trying to say that's not what it's for, and you're just trying to say, oh no, it's not a money thing, but it's always a money thing, and it's always has been a money thing. Like, let's be real right now about it. And that's just unfortunate. But hey, like I said, at the end of the day, it gives these kids an opportunity that they otherwise wouldn't have had. So I'd overlook it too, just because it's good for the kids and for the communities.
All right. Another interesting that we talked about it with Dana. Well, I talked about it with Dana yesterday, and I don't know what you thought about the conversation, but the grumblings of the geographic locations of some of these playoffs and compared to where they are at, compared to their opponent. Do you think it's a legitimate gripe, or do you think, like Dana's perspective was, it's a regional semifinal? At the end of the day, just go and play it.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough because, like, when you have to drive an hour and a half away on, like, a Wednesday night,
can walk to it.
yeah, especially to, like, the football matchups I get to on Friday nights, maybe not as bad, or Saturday nights, but like there's matchups like in soccer and volleyball that was during the week, and these kids had to travel a long way during the week.
You look at you look at volleyball, and volleyball has been pretty much at the same spot for regionals. For everyone knows Barberton, that's a regional spot. Usually it's Uniontown Lake for Division IV. Don't know why it got moved to Strongsville this year, but usually in Division IV they're going to Uniontown Lake. Everyone kind of knows those spots are secured. Soccer and football, because I believe it's outdoors, it gets a little dicey when you have to get all these kind of neutral spots. And yeah, the Crestview soccer team has a legitimate gripe because they're going to Sandusky, which is over 100 miles further away from them than it is from the Ottawa Hills who they're playing.
Yeah, and that's obviously going to be frustrating, and with good reason too.
But at the end of the day, to Dana's point, you're playing in a state semi. You got to be able to just kind of push that aside, just go up and play,
And I think, I mean, Dana, and like I said, I mean, I understand legitimate grades, and that's why I was kind of on the fence with it. But like I said too, I think Dana always brings a good perspective to it, and I think I mean, in a sense, you're right too. I mean, if you don't want to play, then don't go. Then if the drive time is I guess too much, because I mean, it did go both ways, because we saw Canfield is playing in their backyard, and Chardon has to drive a pretty far distance to get there.
That kind of proves that it's not based on seeding. Like, they're not favoriting the high seeds, because
no, they're not stiff.
They're just like, hey, you go travel.
It's just nobody wanted. A lot of schools didn't want to give them host sites, and they had to work with what happened and what.
And like Kirtland isn't asked to leave Lake County, which I know a lot of people are kind of upset with about that. And you look at Kirtland's playoff history, there haven't been a lot of times when they've been asked to leave Lake County for playoff games.
No, not at all. So, I mean, it's definitely
outside of the state.
Yeah. For sure. I mean, but like you said, I mean, travel time is something these teams should expect this time of year too. So
then you look at it, but all that griping, and like Canton is not centralized, so there are going to be teams that have to travel a lot further to get to Canton if they get to a state championship than their opponent. But no one really complains about that side of things, or at least not as heavy as they do with this regional semifinals. That everyone wants it to be like in the center dot of every school. That's a perfect world, but I don't know if that's logistically feasible, especially with a lot of schools saying, peace out, we're not going to host.
Yeah, and I mean, you're right, and I don't know. It's just, there's legitimate gripes on both sides, but I don't really think it's something that you're going to see a whole lot of change with anyway. So I mean, you're still going to see these sites get scheduled wherever they get scheduled, and you're just going to have to end up going to it. Just because, I mean, that's just the case. It's just these schools don't want to become host sites. You got to work with what you got. So they try to find host sites, and they found one, and that's just what you get.
I want to take this time also to say, as we move on from that discussion, the Scrappers have released what their 2022 season will kind of be formatted like, and we will once again proud to be the home of the Mahoning Valley Scrappers in 2022 in the summer. They're going to be playing 80 games this year instead of 66 like last year, and it's basically going to break down into two halves. The first half of the season is going to be for the amateur draft eligible players that are trying to get into the MLB draft. The second half of the season is going to be the professional players that have exhausted amateur eligibility and that are beginning their pro career. I don't know if that means players that got drafted and want to, I don't know what that, like the wording of that really insinuates. It sounds like people that got drafted and are trying to move up the ranks, because otherwise you're not a pro player.
Yeah, I mean, I guess.
Or if that means open to players that are playing in other baseball leagues, like independent leagues, that want to come and try to get into Major League Baseball, come and play for the draft league.
Yeah, and I mean, that might be the case.
That's the other, I just thought of it. That makes a little bit more sense, because obviously the problem we saw last year is once these players got drafted, the teams did not want them playing in this draft league because they had no control over it. So the teams wanted them with their clubs playing in, their spring facilities. So you lost a lot of players on a lot of rosters after the draft. And I think if the league kind of looked at it and said, what do we do after the MLB draft to maintain the integrity of what we are putting on the field?
Well, yeah, because you see teams that basically got overhauled in the middle of the season too, and were completely different. So I mean,
the Scrappers pitching suffered from that. I mean, they were in first place for a long time. Draft comes along, and then their pitching staff was a skeleton crew of what it used to be, and their pitching numbers went down.
But I mean, to the credit, we got to remember that this is not what that league is intended for. It's not real. I mean, like, you want them to be competitive, of course, but this is a developmental league still, and it's about getting players to that next level, and that's going to be the purpose of the league always, first and foremost.
This is pretty much an extension of travel baseball. You are there to raise your stock, and winning and losing is not your priority, which it sounds insane, but at the end of the day, for your players at least, you want to win. You want to be able to prove that you can make winning plays, and obviously that's going to help your stock. But at the end of the day, I feel like the goal of those players is not to have the championship at the end of the season. It's more of if they have to sacrifice that for a spot in the MLB, they will absolutely do it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You still want to
no
give
doubt, and I mean, what we're going to be seeing too is
on the same page. You still want to give the fans what they expect out of professional baseball. And Ty just left me. I'm all alone. There's no one here beside me. So yeah, that's how the Scrapper season will look, and it's going to be two halves once again in 2022. 80 game schedule, and the first half will be players like last year trying to raise their stock in the draft, and the second half will be players that try to enhance their professional career that are already have exhausted their amateur eligibility. While we wait for Ty to fix whatever he's dealing with, we'll go and take a break and be back with more on Running Point, brought to you by Greenwood Chevrolet in Austintown.
Every customer has a story, and at Greenwood Chevrolet, we are committed to making sure it ends with you in the right vehicle. I get to be part of somebody's adventure, whether it's buying a car for the first time, helping them get approved, or finding the perfect car for their budget. I'm proud that people trust me with their finances. They trust me to take care of them, and they trust me with their story. I'm Tracy, and I'm ready to go the extra mile for you, only at Greenwood Chevrolet.
Working with your family can be stressful at times, but because they're family, you know that you're going to get a loving, honest answer, even when things don't make sense to any problem. Dealing with Medicare can be confusing and overwhelming. That's why here at Myers Family Insurance, we do our best to give you honest and caring answers to all of your questions. Family, like Medicare, isn't always perfect, but when you put others first, the results can be amazing.
For all your Medicare needs, call Myers Family Insurance.
It's storm season.
I think we're under the gun for some heavy storms over the next couple of hours.
And Storm Tracker 21 is ready.
This is probably the one we're keeping a closer eye on.
On air,
And locally, we're going to have a lot of eyes on our area.
online,
All right, let's talk high-risk futurecast and the timing of this weather.
on social media, and on our app.
Notice we'll have scattered showers on Thursday.
Stay ready with Storm Tracker 21.
The severe weather threat now through around sunset this evening.
Hi, this is Tommy Clem, owner of WRS Insurance Solutions.
WRS Insurance Solutions is a local independent agency that specializes in life, Medicare, long-term care, and disability products. Call us at 330-953-3722 or visit us at wrsinsurancesolutions.com to learn more.
Good luck to all the student athletes in the Valley.
Hi, I'm Colin Chupa. And I'm Kelsey Clem from K-Squared Marketing. Our boutique marketing firm specializes in media planning and buying, public relations, event marketing strategies, and strategic sponsorships. We can integrate our services with your existing game plan, or we can be your entire marketing team. Your goals, our game plan. Let's win together. Call K-Squared Marketing at 330-623-2730 or visit ksquared.marketing to learn more.
Jimmy Sutman here, Director of Isle, Purple Cat, and Golden String. We are happy to support YSN and two of my favorite people, Scotty Mincher and Super Dave O'Malley. We are an agency that provides services for adults with disabilities. We infuse humor, passion, and joy into their lives. If you know of any folks with disabilities that need our assistance, please contact us.
Your teams work hard and give it all they've got. Well, so does ours, because 21 Sports and YSN give you extra effort when covering local sports. 21 Sports and YSN, winning coverage of our Valley's teams.
Planning a project around your home or rental property? Trust the electrical service to the local experts with 62 years of serving the Mahoning Valley. Joe Dickey Electric is your local go-to source for responsive, reliable residential electrical work. From everyday maintenance and repairs to new installations, electrical upgrades, and safety inspections, no job is too big or too small. Call Joe Dickey Electric today, 800-549-3976, or visit DickeyElectric.com. That's DickeyElectric.com.
Dealing with Medicare can be confusing and overwhelming. That's why here at Myers Family Insurance, we do our best to give you honest and caring answers to all of your questions. Family, like Medicare, isn't always perfect, but when you put others first, the results can be amazing.
Welcome back to Running Point on ysnlive.com, brought to you by our good friends over at Greenwood Chevrolet in Austintown. Ty is back. The Gritch Gremlins tried to take him away, but we would not yield to their power.
Yeah, they're usually effective day in, day out, and they tried to take me away this time. I was able to fight them off and work my way back on.
Those Gremlins, man. Someone keeps feeding them after midnight, and I gotta talk to somebody about that.
Yeah, honestly, but no, we're still back as looking ahead a little bit too at the Running Point schedule for this week too, as we know we're going to have a couple of interviews that are going to be debuting for you tomorrow, and that is both Nick Blanche, the Poland girls basketball coach, as well as Crestview Soccer, getting a little bit of a preview of them before their state title game too. That's going to be very fun.
We'll be talking to head coach. Well, I should say the co-head coaches, because there's two head coaches, Rob Bauer and Coach Riley McCall, the co-head coaches of Crestview Soccer. We'll be interviewing them tonight and then debuting that interview with them on tomorrow's show to kind of get you ready for this state semifinal game on Wednesday night.
Yeah, and don't forget, too, also, we're going to be having Josh Sigler, the United Girls Basketball coach, on at 12:15 tomorrow. So almost at the top of the show, we'll have one of the basketball coaches for you. And then, of course, we know the rest of the week, too. Thursday, we're going to be having a whole slew of coaches too, including a newly added, I believe, John Matese, Springfield Girls Basketball coach, and Sarah Hamilton on Thursday now from Salem.
Yep.
As well as now Friday, we just from just yesterday till today, we also know now Friday the Fitch boys basketball coach Brian Beanie is going to be joining us on Friday as well. So we have added coaches all over.
Beanie.
Yeah, Coach Beanie.
Yeah. Okay. So we have the YSU women are up 34-29 at halftime in Eastern Michigan, and we still have 4 tickets to their home opener to give away. 4 free tickets to their home opener next Monday against Akron to the first person that either comments on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, or Twitch on the Boardman Mitsubishi comment section, or ets us at Running Point YSN on Twitter, the starting 5 for their opener today in Eastern Michigan. So, go find who started the game for Youngstown State and comment it or leave us an @ on Twitter. And if you're the first person to do it, you'll have 4 tickets to their home opener on Monday night against Akron.
Yeah, get out there too. And I mean, you could find their starting 5 literally right now as they're competing. So you could see who their starting 5 was today and get yourself some free tickets.
Free. The other thing I do want to take the time to kind of promote, we were going to have Coach Gabriel from Boardman Baseball on the show at some point in the next week. Unfortunately, some things got in the way. He wasn't able to schedule with us, but he did want us to promote their fundraiser, which is the Night at the Races, which is going to take place on November 20th at 6 p.m. at the Engineering Union Hall in Boardman. And this is going to be a fundraising night for the Boardman baseball team. So we wanted to get that promoted for Boardman baseball because they're one of our great friends and they wanted us to kind of get that out there. So once again, November 20th, you can head out to a great fundraiser, the Night of the Races at the Engineering Union Hall in Boardman.
Yeah, no doubt. And that should be a fun time, too. So get out there and support, too. We know how big of a role Boardman baseball plays on us every season.
And if something changes and we can get Coach Gabriel on to promote that before it happens, then we will definitely talk to him a little bit more about it and what it means to the program.
Yeah, no doubt, as we're always working eagerly to get more guests on the show for you.
Guests are awesome. So once again, we have a couple of things. The ticket giveaway. If you comment the starting 5 from today's season opener in Eastern Michigan for the Penguins, you can get yourselves 4 free tickets to their home opener next Monday. And of course, we want to once again promote the Boardman baseball fundraiser event, the Night at the Races. Tickets are $15 and they are available from Carrie Eicher. So Carrie Eicher is your contact to get tickets to the Night at the Races. $15. It is November 20th at 6 p.m. and it is happening at the Engineering Union Hall in Boardman for Boardman baseball.
Get out there and support.
Hey, we also want to promote that we still have a coach coming on today at 1:40. We'll be talking to Kerry Palermo, the head coach of the Mooney boys basketball team, coming up in about 15 minutes. We're excited to talk to him about what Mooney will bring to the table this year and what some of the prospects for their basketball team will be.
Yeah, no doubt. Obviously Mooney always plays a tough schedule. We know the game Mooney played last year. I was so lucky to be able to call that one against Waterloo, where they were able to come away victorious in that final matchup, and that was a very, very good competitive matchup.
Basically, if Ty's coming to your school for a game, you better get there because it's going to come down to a buzzer beater or something crazy is going to happen because Ty just brings some kind of mojo with him to the games that always ends up being something crazy. Something crazy is going to happen. We saw it all football season. I don't think there was a Fitch game where something crazy that we don't see every day happened. I don't think there was a normal fish game.
Yeah, no doubt. And I mean, looking at this season, like I said, I'm still going to be trying to get out there too. And I've been working very closely with Paul Munson too. So we're going to try to, again, we know my basketball season is all about touring the schools. So that's exactly what it's going to be again this year. And you're going to catch me at some schools that I wasn't at last year. I definitely would love to make my way out to Heartland and check out both the boys and girls programs sometime this year. And I have intentions of doing so. Campbell is also some schools as a school that I need to see because I want to see that floor too over there at Campbell as well.
Got to get yourself to Garfield.
I do have to get myself. Garfield's one we have to double check with because I know Garfield does a great job with box cast, and I'm not sure if they utilize that or not during basketball season. Because if they do, if they have their, we know we don't want to step on their toes because they do a great job with their box cast as well. But if they allow me in there, you bet that I will be in Garfield for something.
Find a reason to go.
Like I might find a reason just to get to Garfield anyway.
So yeah, no, we look forward to basketball season, and Ty, you're gonna add some new gyms to your checklist of gyms that you haven't been before.
I mean, I'm trying to checklist every single school that we cover, and we keep adding them. So I mean, I have to keep up with them, and I got to keep adding more and more schools to visit.
Guess what? Like we announced it during the fall season, but Badger is going to be our newest team. We're going to be covering Badger basketball, so there's another gym that you have to add to your checklist.
Yeah, for sure. And that's going to be Badger's one of those too. I'm going to have to make sure I pack a cooler or something. It's going to be a trek for me too. I checked too. Don't worry. That was the first thing I checked was
you should show up to the gym with one of those like travel sacks that you see like in the cartoons for the people that are vagabonds. They're just with a stick with just a bandana and whatever they can fit in it.
I think
you walk into the gym with one of those.
I made 2 trips up to Jefferson for football season this year. I mean, that's not as bad of a drive.
Jefferson's not bad for you. It's bad for everyone else, but I feel like for you, it's not that bad.
Still about an hour and 15 for me.
Really?
Yeah, still an hour and 15. It's straight up Ashtabula. I'm not north as much as I am west of where
it's
where
an
you
hour
guys
from me, and you're an hour from me, but Jefferson's an hour from me too, and then that doesn't make sense. My brain just broke.
It's because like Ravenna and Youngstown are more like this than they are like this or this, and Jefferson's like up here, and Ravenna and Youngstown are both down here. So it's an hour drive for me to get from you to here, but it's also an hour for both of us to go up that way too. So
your cartographical skills are amazing.
I do a great job.
It's more like this and this.
I have a small box that I have to try to maneuver with it. It's not easy.
Your geographical lesson from Ty Bartel brought to you.
I try my best.
Running Point. Don't listen to him. He doesn't know what he's talking about.
I do know where I am at least. I mean, I can guarantee you that Jefferson is north of me. I can promise you that. North, straight up.
North is up, right? East? I thought you said west. What kind of compass are you reading, man?
But no doubt, gonna be making those rounds around.
That's west, Patrick. Sometimes random stuff pops in my head, and then I can't get that out of there. I apologize. We have more playoff matchups to talk about too. And as the rest of our week gets kind of busy, maybe we should tackle some of those now while we wait for Coach Palermo and Mooney to come on. West Branch's offense, by the way, it was held to its lowest total this season by Poland, and we thought Poland's defense would give them fits, but it was still 33 points. I mean, even when you slow them down, you really don't. It's their offense has been on another level all season.
Yeah, and I think my original call for the game was 31-24 is what I said West Branch would win by, and a little bit more on West Branch's side, but I knew Poland had the potential of holding this team under 40 points defensively, and they did a great job.
It was very interesting West Branch, against this Poland defense that is big and physical, they elected to run a little bit more than they usually do. And that might be one of the reasons why they didn't score as much, because they kind of held the ball control. And obviously, maybe that went into the fact that they knew we could score. We can score against Poland. So let's hold on to the ball and give their offense as little opportunity as possible to score with us, even if that's sacrificing, 14, 20 points that we would add on if we played our normal style of offense.
Well, also, they kind of were playing Poland at their own game, and they kind of beat them at that, because I was kind of imagine Poland's mentality is we need to hold the ball long on our offensive drives, and we need to make sure we get the ball out of their hands quickly on defense. And what West Branch did, they didn't fall into the trap of trying to score quickly, because all you need then, if you score too quickly, and that's the problem too with West Branch, if you're one of those teams where you're scoring at will under a minute on drives, and you just make that one mistake where Poland's taken 6-7 minutes off the clock and they get that extra possession, then all of a sudden you find yourself behind the 8 ball. But West Branch does a great job of making the adjustments and also playing that possession style game, showing that they can make adjustments and play your style of game and still win. That's what I'm saying. I don't care about anybody else in Division 4. Nobody is ready for West Branch, and I've been saying it all season, and I'll continue to preach it.
That was one of the most impressive West Branch games I saw, because they proved they can play other styles of football. That they're not just a simply running gun high flying offense. They can be, and they still made some really big plays in that game. But if you want them to, and they have to, they'll play your 3 yards, 3 yards, 3 yards, just methodical offensive game. And is a good enough running back to do it. And they believe in their offensive line. They won the war of the trenches against a very big Poland defensive line. And they were able to run the ball pretty well.
Yeah, no doubt. And that's the big thing with West Branch and why they are so difficult to beat, is that they play their style, but they can play your style as well. And they're very versatile on offense and defense. And I mean, just look at what they've been able to do. I mean, against opponents week in and week out. And I mean, this is a Warriors team that continues just to be impressive all around doing what they need to do to come out victorious. And I mean, it was a Poland defense that we knew was going to test them, and test they did. But again, West Branch passes another one.
Test they did.
They did.
They had their number 2 pencils ready to go, and they passed that test. Unlike what I did in high school, which is not passed very many.
Unfortunately, too. Maybe it's because you needed Walt the Shields teaching you too. I mean, we saw that class was bumping too, and I mean that's where all the football players, it seems like, hangs out is in Coach the Shields classroom. So I mean that might be the place.
Why wouldn't you hang out in Coach the Shields?
That's the place to be, apparently. And I mean, hey, they're finding success from it, so maybe there's something about that classroom.
I'll tell you, one of the things that is that I struggle with in high school, and Paul Munson will know this guy if he's listening. Mr. Patton's class, government and history, his tests were like 250 questions long.
Not your style, Anthony.
It was brutal. It did prepare us for college, because college tests are.
That is exactly what it did. Because I was gonna say, I remember. And that was every history class I ever took in college.
You weren't thinking of that as a freshman in high school. You were just thinking, oh, I've had like 20 question tests in middle school. And then all of a sudden here comes Mr. Patton, just opening the eyes of every freshman in South Range. Hey, here's bam.
He's like, I'm about to put a patent on my teaching style, right? But no, I mean, that definitely prepared you, because I remember I got served some 250 question exams.
And his whole class was pretty much his lectures. So like which I loved listening to him, by the way. It was I'm more of everyone learns differently. I'm more of if you kind of sit down and tell me it in like a story, and that's why I think I'm always good at history, because I like the story. I like I can remember dates if I have something to connect it to. And he did a really good job of that. So, but it was pretty much just 2 hours of lectures, and here's 2 hours lectures for 2 weeks, and here's a 250 question test about everything I've talked about, some of which isn't in the textbook. So I hope you were listening to what I was talking about.
So it's just pay attention to what I'm saying, and then you're fine.
Right. Oh man, that was fun. And it did get you ready for college. But as we go back into West Branch, and they're going to be playing Perry at Boardman this week. You look at the challenge ahead. We saw Perry against Girard. It was competitive for a little bit, and then Perry flexed a little bit.
Yeah, they did. And you know what? Still credit to Girard for making it as far as they did this season, too. Very, very impressive season by the Indians, and nothing to hang your hats on in shame. And you know what, Girard? They made it competitive there, too, towards the end a little bit as well. And they did not stop fighting until the last second.
I think this will be the most lopsided playoff matchup of our weekend.
You think?
I think Poland would have beaten Perry. I watched Perry on film. I just wasn't like I watched that Girard game, I should say. By the way, great call by our announcers. But I just think I think Poland was better than Perry, to be honest. I think Poland would have beat Perry. I think West Branch is going to kind of easily glide through this game. I think they're just a mismatch.
Well, like I said before, Perry can come in thinking whatever they want. Nobody is ready for West Branch.
Nobody's ready for Drew Shields and what
that is my rallying cry that I'm using for the Warriors all season, and I'll use it again. Nobody is ready for West Branch.
Now, the question is Ursuline ready for Glenville?
That's going to be an interesting question.
Glenville looks super impressive. Like, they have some D1 talent on that team.
And this is going to be one, too, where the Irish, and you know what? I'll use the same thing that you used, too, with my thing with Harding, too, is early on in the season, they looked to be that team that was making those game-winning plays, and they did a great job of that, especially in the close ones against Harding, against Fitch, and I think that really propelled them this season to get them the seed that they're at. I just worry, and I'm going to give them all the credit in the world for playing the teams like Villa Angela, St. Joseph in the regular season, but those games with Villa Angela and with St. Vincent, St. Mary's, those were games where, again, against that competitive level of talent and that kind of defense where I feel like you're going to see from Glenville, Ursuline's just has to take care of the ball in this one. You cannot turn the ball over if you want to come on top of this one.
By the way, Glenville beat VASK to get to this game. So
yeah. So, it's going to be a tough task for Ursuline. I don't think it's something that's insurmountable for the Irish. They've been impressive with the wins they've been able to compile all season. But I think it definitely comes down to, can you take care of the ball? And even more than the defense, because I think the offense can compete with anyone even then. But it's you got to take care of the ball, and you can't give teams extra possession.
But to the defense's credit, they have played a lot better in the playoffs.
They have.
Got some key stops against Salem. They played really well against
Canton
South, which is a really good offense, by the way. They've been high flying all year. So, we'll talk a little bit more about Ursuline and their matchup later on in the week. Right now, we're going to take a quick break and be back with head coach of the Moonies boys basketball team, Kerry Palermo. That's coming up next on Running Point, brought to you by Greenwood Chevrolet in Austintown.
At Greenwood Chevrolet, shop with confidence knowing we're ready to go the extra mile for you. With the largest selection of used vehicles in the Valley, backed by the Greenwood Advantage Warranty. Only at Greenwood Chevrolet.
My guy keeps it 100% of the time. He wants all 100, won't settle for 99. And it's more than stats, because there's people in those numbers. And I was one of the lost sheep. I'm so glad he cares for all 100. I'm 100% safe, 100% free, 100% love. I can be 100% me. He gave all 100 when they put him up on that tree. That's 100% passion for 100% free. So if I play in front of 100, or if I play in front of 2, there's an audience of 1 getting 100% of what I can do.
WRS Wealth Advisors is the area's premier wealth and retirement specialist. With our combined 70 years experience, WRS Wealth Advisors is the area's premier wealth and retirement specialist. Call 330-965-0370 to learn more about our individual and corporate financial planning services, or visit wrswealth.com. Good luck, athletes.
News doesn't stop after the sun goes down. Sometimes you just have to hustle to get it. At 21 News, no matter how far it is, no matter what it takes to get there, we're working to bring you the best stories and the freshest content at 11 p.m. with the context and clarity that makes it worth staying up for, no matter what time it is. 21 News at 11 with me, Erin Simonek, and Derek Steyer.
21 News at 11, news that's worth your time.
Welcome to Running Point, back to Running Point, I should say, on ysnlive.com. Anthony Hartwig alongside Ty Bartell, and we're going to be joined by the head coach of the Mooney boys basketball team, Kerry Palermo. Coach, thank you so much for taking the time to join us today.
Oh, thanks for having me.
Coach, no doubt successful season last year, and I was glad that I got to see some of that success towards the end of the year. And I mean, no doubt a great squad that you guys had last year. Obviously, some of the guys seniored out, but you are going to have some returners. Highlight some of those big playmakers that you expect to be on the roster this year, as well as some of those younger guys that you think are going to step up.
So the name that probably everyone knows, Mick Hergenrother, our point guard, the last 2 years. He'll be a senior this year. He averaged about 13, 14 points a game for us, led our team in assists. Unbelievable leader for us the last couple of years. We're going to lean on him to run our offense. And, he already was a big scorer, but we're going to, really put the ball in his hands a lot more than he has the last couple of years. Two other returning starters, guard Jack Pepperny. I think he was second on our team in three-point makes a season ago. His role is obviously going to expand. Drew Pecchia started at the 5 spot for us. He'll be a 2-year starter out the gate. He had a really, really good summer for us. Was more of a rebounder, screener in our office, great defender. We'll ask him to do a little bit more scoring and run some more offense through him. Some of our other returners that played, James Campbell played a lot of minutes for us last year. He started a couple games for us. He's a guy that's going to play huge minutes, and if we had a game tomorrow, he'd be starting for us. There's no doubt, and he's an unbelievable leader for us. Sorry, I'm in school right now. He'll be a big player that we're going to lean on. Jack Phillips had a great summer. He's about 6'3", 6'4" now. He's a starter on the football team. This will be his second full year healthy coming out for us. We'll really depend on him underneath for some size. Jack Desmond's another senior that we'll rely heavily on. I think he started a game last year, probably played 10, 12 minutes a game. Those 6 seniors returning, great teammates, great leaders. They're all really, really good in their roles, and all of their roles are going to have to expand this year. We have a junior, Jackson Mino, who really came on strong for us a year ago in the tournament. Played some huge minutes for us down the stretch. He's going to play huge minutes for us this year. Had a great summer. We have a senior that came back out. Davonte Miller was a heck of a football player for us the last couple of years. He's going to be in the mix at some point. Another junior, Nolan Radinsky, was a receiver on the football team. He's going to step up and have an opportunity to earn some minutes. We have a very talented sophomore class. I think it's our most talented class in our program. Some of those guys who are going to get a shot, and we actually have our first scrimmage tonight against Canton McKinley at home, and we're going to throw those guys to the fire and see how they respond. Mateo Fortuna is a guard for us who's going to have an opportunity to play on our wing and handle the ball. Jabri Carter, another really good shooter, ball handler. Ashton O'Brien had a big summer for us, the quarterback on the football team. Nick Pregabon, a 2-year starter on our soccer team. All these guys played JV for us last year. He'll have an opportunity for some serious minutes. Rocco Turner, all-state golfer. He can really shoot the basketball. He'll have an opportunity to fill some of that void scoring-wise. Will Desmond is another football player that we just got back out about a week ago. he'll have an opportunity to earn some minutes underneath. That kind of rounds out. I know I'm probably leaving a kid or two out, but I see us being a lot deeper than we were a year ago. And although we have a lot of experienced guys returning, and there's really no in between. Like, we don't have any guys that played a little bit of JV and a little bit of varsity. We either have, returning varsity players or guys that are completely inexperienced. So I don't know if we'll have a set lineup every game. I don't know if we'll have a set rotation every game. I think there's going to be ups and downs to everyone, and we're just going to ride the guys who are, playing great in practice, who are competing like hell in practice and giving great effort.
You said it. You're not going to really have a set rotation, especially I would imagine the first couple of weeks of the season when you're trying to figure out who's going to really be stepping up for you guys. What kind of things are you going to be looking for as the season goes on to decide who are going to be the 7 or 8 guys that you can really trust and rely on to be in that rotation late in the season and come tournament time?
So a big thing that we really preach to our kids is competing every day in practice. We want to make practices more competitive and harder than our games. And I think we started to learn how to do that as a program 2 years ago. And last year was, I don't want to say a culmination because you always want to keep getting better, but a lot of our success was a result of that, of what a practice was. With that being said, I don't know if you ever get to a set number of guys. Because like I'm saying, Jackson Mino, he didn't play much for us the first 10 games of the season. The last 7 or 8 regular season games, he got minutes here and there, but he played more the last 2 or 3 games in the tournament than he did the entire year. And we made that decision just based on how he was performing in practice. We just felt like he was one of our best 6 or 7 players and he needed to be on the floor. And I think that's going to be the same with everybody in our program. We pride ourselves on being one of the hardest working teams in the area. We tell our kids, as long as you compete every day and focus on our process, we're going to be better at the end of the year as opposed to at the beginning of the year. And that's only going to help us to tournament time. We want to be peaking and still ascending, in February and March. We don't want to be playing our best basketball November 30th. We want to be playing our best basketball, going into the tournament.
And, one of those guys that you talk about, McCurgan-Rother, I've gotten the opportunity to see him, and I think one of the most impressive things he's able to do is passing out of that drive to that basket and really getting it to the guys on the outside. Talk to me about how influential it is to have that kind of point guard that's kind of your on-court coach, that you really know everything facilitated through him is going to go rather smoothly.
So it makes my job a lot easier. Mick does an unbelievable job of getting everybody involved in our offense. But what I don't think people realize is, like, when a play breaks down or our offense gets a little bit stagnant, he could go make a play. Whether it's him shooting the basketball, scoring the basketball, or getting somebody else involved. And he has a deep understanding for the game of basketball. He has a very, very high IQ. He's a kid that, he's going to play college basketball somewhere, and he wants to play college basketball. He's a kid that, he'll be in the gym 3 days a week at 6:30 in the morning with me, getting shots up, working on his game. When we're done with practice, he'll be at the Boardman Y or the Salem Wellness Center, still playing, working on his game. It just makes your whole team dynamic flow, your whole offense flow a lot better when you have a kid like that understands everything that we're expecting from every player, from our coaching staff, and he can relay that to the rest of our team.
Every coach that comes on, we try to ask them what they want to teach their kids in the program, what they want their kids to take away from being under their program. But I also want to know, what kind of things have your kids taught you as you're coaching them? Because I think great coaches kind of learn from their kids as much as they teach them. So not only do I want to know what kind of things you want to instill on your kids, what kind of things have you think your students and your players have taught you as a coach?
So, like, when I first took over at Cardinal Mooney 6 years ago, I had been assistant at Ursuline High School under Coach Gunther. I played for Coach Gunther, and he's one of the best coaches in the area, probably like all time. Like, you look at his wins, his district titles, when you say basketball and coaches in Youngstown area, Coach Gunther's at the top of the list. And I have so much respect for him. Big thing he preached every day for us as players, coaches, whatever, was accountability. He holds every player to the same standard. Now he understands, and I understand that our players all have different skill level, different talent level, different learning curves. But accountability, whether it's being on time for practice, giving the best effort, being the best teammate, not wasting your talent, that stuff has to be the same every day. I think as a coach, the best thing I can do for my team is hold them accountable to a high standard every single day. And that's the only way I think any program can succeed. Now, as far as what I've learned from them, when I started coaching at Cardinal Mooney, I came from a program, very similar schools, very similar dynamics, but it's a different player you're coaching. Kids that come from a different background, a different how you view the game of basketball per se. And what they've made me understand is it's not, you can't look at the kids as like just as a numbers, as X's and O's. They may love the game of basketball. They may love being a part of the team more than they love the game of basketball. And the more you can understand more about each player individually, whether it's what's going on in their life, what they're interested in outside of basketball, how they operate every day in school, it's going to allow you to coach that player a lot better than if you're just looking at them as, pieces to a puzzle, because that's not how it works. I'm sure every coach in the area will tell you that they're more of like a psychologist than they are a coach. They're more of a organizer, fundraiser, whatever. The X's and O's part of coaching is the least important thing on the table. And that's probably the number one thing I've learned being at Cardinal Mooney. If I knew what I knew now as opposed to 6 years ago, I don't know if it would translated in more wins, deeper run the tournament. I don't know how that would have worked. But I think our team would have been more together. I think we would have been more cohesive of a unit.
And looking at this team this year too, and I mean the schedule that you have put in front of you, I mean growth obviously is always a big point. And you talk about having a very talented sophomore class. We know that sophomore to junior year, that season in between, that transition is always a big one for development. Do you think the schedule that you have in front of you, as we know it's always scheduling up in tough schools, do you think that this is going to be beneficial for the development of those sophomores and getting this team ready to come tournament time? Absolutely.
And you can even go back to June. We took our kids over to the Canton-McKinley Summer League. We were playing in the Newcastle Summer League. So you're playing against, AAA schools in Western Pennsylvania, the Newcastles, Pittsburgh Central Catholics, the Kennedy Catholics, Sharons, and whatnot. We were over at McKinley playing against them and the Glen Oaks, the high-level schools over there. But in our schedule, we play Ursuline twice, Cheney twice, Boardman twice, Fitch, Warren Hardings. We're in that D3 district. I think last year we played more Division I schools than the entire other 23 teams combined. We played more Division II schools than the entire, 23 Division III schools combined over there. So, this will definitely prepare our kids. We'll see what they're made of. The game's going to be sped up on them. They're going to play against some athletes. They're going to play against some great coaches, some great programs. And then hopefully when we get down to, the tournament time in our level, similar size schools, there won't be anything that they're surprised with.
Coach, before we let you go, we want to give you the chance to highlight your coaching staff, the people that are working with you, and the people that really help build this program and make it what it is.
So just going from top to bottom, my two varsity assistants, one is Ralph Naples. He's been with me my entire 6 years. I was an assistant coach when he was playing at Ursuline. He's more of like my defensive coordinator and whatnot. Jeff Shaheen, this will be his third year. And he has an unbelievable insight of like the players. He's definitely a player's coach. He's the guy getting these guys fired up every day, getting them juiced up before practice. He's more probably my offensive coordinator. And those two guys, they work hand in hand with our varsity team and in our entire program. All of our coaches go back and forth throughout the entire program. My head JV coach, Dupree Carter, this is his second year. He does a great job with our younger group. He more of a coach of our post players as opposed to like Ralph and Jeff, more work with our guards. His head assistant this year will be Jerron Howell, him and Jeff are former Cardinal Mooney high greats, and they'll let you know about it if you talk to them. He coached our freshman team the previous 2 years. He does a great job with younger kids. My two freshman coaches, John Mikos and Mark Phillips, it's kind of cool. This is their first year coaching. It's the first time I've been able to hire former players. They graduated from me 3 years ago. They were with my program the first 3 years. They were part of that growth, going from 5 wins to 8 wins to 10 wins and winning a tournament game. They're awesome. They know exactly what I expect and my coaching mannerisms, and they can do a great job of, letting the younger guys know what to expect when they get up to the JV varsity level.
Coach, my final question for you, being in that gym for that game against Waterloo where it was opened up a little bit, we were able to get a little bit more of a student section, and I know it was loud and rocking, and just that feeling of excitement was returned for a moment. How excited are you to have that student section and that Mooney faithful back in full force?
I think it's going to be awesome. I think it's going to be a great experience for our kids. Like, going to play an Ursula Mooney game with a packed house with people standing 3 deep underneath the hoops. Or just even like a Tuesday night game, like, Tuesday night home game last year where there's 30 people in the stands. It's kind of awkward. And the kids did a great job last year of kind of generating their own energy and getting it going. But I'm excited for the kids for that, and I'm excited to have the people there. But I'm also a little bit nervous because, we only had last year one varsity, I should say that we only had one underclassman, Mick Hergenrother, that ever played in front of a crowd like that in a varsity game. So he's still the only guy that has played through like a packed house with that. So the rest of our team isn't used to that crowd. So I want to see how they respond to that. It's hard to simulate that in practice, hard to simulate that in scrimmages. And you guys saw that Waterloo game last year. That was a crazy game. I mean, there were technical fouls. There were, both teams were in foul trouble. They were probably a little bit too amped up because of that crowd because they weren't used to it. So I'm kind of interested to see how that works for our, what is it? 6 sophomores, 2 juniors, and then our 6 seniors that haven't been used to that. It's going to be interesting.
Coach, we're really interested too. We thank you so much for taking the time to join us today. We look forward to covering you guys all season, and as the year goes on, we'll talk to you again real soon.
I appreciate it, guys. Thanks for having us.
That was Kerry Palermo, the head coach of the Mooney boys basketball team. We want to thank him for joining us. We want to thank coach of the LeBray girls, Mandy Rowe, for joining us, and head coach of the Latonia boys, Guy Costello. All of them joined us live on today's show. And tomorrow we will have, Nick Blanche will be premiered, Coach's Corner with the 2 head coaches, co-head coaches of the Crestview soccer team as well, Rob Auer and Coach McCall. Both will be interviewed tonight and then debuted tomorrow. And I believe we have one that's also going to be live on the show tomorrow, Ty.
Josh Sigler as well from United Girls Basketball will be on live tomorrow too. So we got you covered on basketball fronts tomorrow as well.
That's tomorrow, 12 to 2, Casual Sports Podcast coming up next from 2 to 3, Power Hour from 3 to 4, and then we're back tomorrow after this 22-hour break. We'll be back. See you guys on Wednesday.